floodplain manager certification and some future planning certifications that come along this way. So we are very happy to have her here tonight, introduce you. I can assure you,
This conference
she and I went around and looked at every case that's on your docket tonight. She's very familiar and getting up to speed quickly, and I'd like to offer her some words that she may have as well before you start your meeting.
Well, I'm very thankful to be here, and I look forward to working with you all and also serving the citizens of Madison County. So my door is always open. You know where to find me. If you have questions, please come in and talk with me, and I'm here for you all. So
Thank you very much. Okay, any other revisions or any discussion about the agenda?
And Mr. Chairman, just a
Yes, sir.
point, Ms. Turner, I'm going to have her bring the agenda up from the room. So we'll drive from that location as you call in the cases, and want staff input, I will do that. We have two screens as normal for your viewing pleasure as well as the general public, but Ms. Turner will be driving for me tonight.
Okay. If there's no discussion, can we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, we need to review the minutes from April 3rd, 2024. And this was basically just one application. Okay, does anyone see any corrections or additions that need to be made?
The agenda?
This is for the minutes. Yes, thank you. Okay, if not, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. All in favor of approving the minutes as written on April 3rd, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, as always, we will take each case one at a time. I'll read through the case. We will have any additional information from staff. The applicant will have a chance to address the planning commission and answer questions. Following that, if there's public comment, we will have a time period for public comment on each case. As always, for public comment, please be courteous and try to limit your comments to a few minutes, 3 minutes or so. All right, thank you. Case number S-03-24-20. Brian Kelly has applied for a by right subdivision of a 21-acre A1 agriculture zoned lot. The subdivision would create 3 new 3-acre lots and a residue lot of 12 acres. The subject lot does not contain a postal address, but is located at the intersection of Leathers Road and Etland Road and is identified on Madison County's tax map as 14-9A. Anything to add there?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to mention that by right subdivision, I know can be confusing for some. It's more than one lot subdivision, so that requires it to come before the planning commission for review and ultimately for consideration for a vote by the Board of Supervisors at the joint public hearing that will be held May 1st. We do have on file and in your packet and VDH approval as well as VDOT approval. Ms. Turner, if you can bring it up to show the plat, please, for this subdivision. I just want to clarify one thing. The last commission workshop, and I apologize, I was at command during that fire. Ms. Henshaw did very well. I thought maybe y'all didn't want to have me back, and that's fine. But the comment, I believe, from the planning commission was to show entrance to the residue. So the first lot, I don't have my mouse here, but the first lot will come in immediately off of Leathers Road, so where you turn off Etland Road onto Leathers Road. I did tell Mr. Kelly there is a typo or a error on this because it says VDOT easement Leathers Lane. That is incorrect. Leathers Lane is a private, or it is another road, not VDOT Road, that is further up, but that is Leathers Road. So you have two lots that have an entrance off of Leathers Road before it gets to the adjoining landowner's property. The Lot C has access off of Etland Road. I did ask why the little triangle tip, and Mr. Kelly informed me that that was for, folks if they want to get a little closer to Descartes Vineyard or Winery. And the residue lot, you see the red circle, he does have approval from VDOT. And I believe, Ms. Turner, the packet was updated, I believe with that last letter from VDOT showing that. So he has VDOT approval, he has VDH approval. So basically, any other questions or comments you may have on it, I'd recommend directing those to the applicant, but we do have the other agency approvals on file.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Jonathan?
I've got a question. So in the letter for the on-site sewage systems, there's a note down there in one of the paragraphs that says this subdivision may contain lots that do not have approved sites for on-site sewage systems. Now, is that just a boilerplate for all? Because I found out on one of the other letters. This was from Emily Bourdon.
Are you reading December 28th, 2023?
Correct.
So that letter, second paragraph, says this letter is informing you the above referenced subdivision plat is approved for individual on-site systems in accordance with the provisions of the Code of Virginia, and it gives.
Two paragraphs
section.
down. The bottom of the paragraph says pursuant to section 360. That
Where it
last-
says in the addition, the Madison County Health Department, that paragraph, sir?
Where it says pursuant to section 360 of the regulations, the last paragraph,
Yeah,
last sentence
last
of that paragraph.
So second paragraph, or,
Next to the last paragraph.
Yeah.
Right there where the mouse is.
Last sentence.
The last sentence in that paragraph.
this is BDH, I mean, I don't. So that full paragraph says pursuant to section 360 of the regulations, this approval is not an assurance that sewage disposal construction permits will be issued for any lot in the subdivision identified above unless that lot is specifically identified on the above referenced plat as having an approved site for on-site sewage. So let me go to the plat, which they have reviewed that, and the drain fields are shown on there. So I don't take that as a problem.
Okay. I was just wondering why that sentence was in there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just know that the second letter that has Record Health Department plat on it dated December 28th states this letter is conforming to above referenced subdivision plat is approved for individual on-site systems.
Okay, any other questions for Jonathan? No other questions? In that case, would the applicant like to address the planning commission?
Hello, everybody, I'm Brian. Yeah, I think the last time when I was here, what was outstanding was where the entrance would be for the residents. And so I went back to VDOT, and
Okay.
I'm checking the microphone.
Doesn't appear to be on.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, any questions for Mr. Kelly?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kelly, on the map, it's really difficult to see, and I tried to enlarge it and really didn't have much luck. But on the line where it shows, I think, what is it, Leathers Road is the one that looks like it comes close to the property line. Were you using that for ingress and regress into the property?
So the property and Leathers Road, so Leathers Road is the back of the property until it splits off, where you can see it's kind of
But it's-
going up and then it veers to the right a little bit, it takes that turn. And so until that exact point, it is, it's connected to the property. And so the VDOT approved entrance is before it separates from the property.
So that's on, as we're looking at the lower left-hand corner of that picture, where the McCoolers property comes into the point, you said that's the ingress from Etlin Road?
Yeah, you can see I want to make sure I'm referring to which lot you're talking. For lot B, you can see where it says proposed entrance.
Yes, okay.
Hit them in the eye, laser. Mine, you can't hurt. The little orange one.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So, right there, it says, proposed entrance, and so right there for, lot B, that's before it breaks off from Leathers. If you were referring to, lot A, right there is where it says proposed entrance, and that's for the entrance.
Okay, how about lot C and D?
And so for lot C, you've got the entrance, and so that's for lot C. And then for the residue, I didn't have that last time I came to see y'all. And so then I brought VDOT back out, and where that circle is the entrance to the residue. And now VDOT signed off on that, and I sent that information to you.
Okay, so they're all from Etlin Road then?
Two
Well-
of them are from Etlin, sir,
And two.
Okay,
and two are on,
okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Kelly? Yes.
Are you planning on building like a weekend rental, bed and breakfast, or building homes?
I'm gonna sell them, because I'm in debt and I gotta. Yeah, no, that's the plan, I'm gonna sell a couple of the lots, try to recoup some of the different costs. There's additional costs involved as well, connected to the electric, connected with the surveying and other things of that nature, but that's the intent.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Kelly? All right, I think that answered most of the questions. I'll just speak up. I think that answered the questions that we had from the previous workshop. Thank you, sir. All right, at this point, is there any public comment on this application? All right, if not, we will move ahead to the next one.
Leave this here.
Yes, that'll be fine, thanks. All right, case number SP-05-24-01. The Madison County Board of Supervisors has submitted a site plan application to develop approximately 6 acres of Hoover Ridge Park. Hoover Ridge Park consists of a total of 181.882 acres and is zoned A1. The proposed development provides for a new splash pad, accessible playground, and various sport courts. The applicant has submitted an erosion/sediment control plan and stormwater management plan to the Culpeper Soil and Water Conservation District and, Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, respectively. These plans are currently under review and pending approval. The lot is identified on Madison County's tax map as 48-43C. Jonathan, anything to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my understanding that there really wasn't questions from the last workshop, but this is the second workshop for the site plan. You do have the site permit application, there's the site plan checklist along with the site plan. Again, it's worth mentioning that this plan has been sent to DEQ for their review. As you know, that state regulatory body, it varies on when the review may be done. We hope it's done by May 1st public hearing, but I would simply request at that time, if not, like other site plans you have given consideration when it gets to the Board of Supervisors to recommend approval based on condition of DEQ satisfactory. So we have everything submitted. We have a wonderful site plan. We have our wonderful PRA folks here tonight that if you have any questions specific about the actual project itself, it is roughly about 6 acres of land disturbance. I don't mean that all the court play is going to be 6 acres because you have some stormwater and all that in there. I believe it's probably around 4 or 5 maybe actually acres of actual play. You have a hockey rink component, which is much needed now after the March 20th fires. They've done an excellent job with fundraising. There'll be some basketball courts, pickleball courts, along with an accessible playground and a splash pad. If some of you have been to Culpeper, there's a park in the town of Culpeper called Rock Water Park. There'll be a similar splash pad feature as they have there. So those are the elements of the project. Again, as far as the site plan, we believe that we have everything submitted properly for your consideration.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Jonathan? I would add this was a very impressive site plan and very complete. Thank you. Any questions from the Planning Commission? Okay. Yes, Jim.
So after the site plan is approved, it's then that you'll start going out for bids from the different contractors to build these units? Okay. So I've been doing my due diligence on that, so we'll hold those questions for a later date. So thank you.
All right. In that case, does anyone have any question for the applicant? Before we ask them to stand up. I mean, they did an excellent presentation at the last workshop, so. Anyone have any questions? Yes, Mike, okay.
I've just got a question on the parking. This is really loud. It appears that there's not a lot of spaces. I mean, I haven't done a count, to be quite honest, and I don't know how many people that we're probably trying to put in here, but is this all the parking that is going to be required here? Is what it was on this?
What do you got?
Right, so we do have planned parking, that's gonna be the asphalt, that we're gonna put in, but we also have the ability to grow, and use our current grass lot next to the Parkway Pavilion, which has, I don't know, good 50 or so spots, 60 spaces there. And as much as we don't wanna do it, there is an existing sports field, it's just a multi-purpose field, so it came down to where we had way too much parking, or needed, and we can't go, we use all the other space that we have. We do have an existing green space that we could use. We'd rather, that's a last resort. We do have plenty of ability for parking. There's a future dog park that's just to the right of the parking. It says sanitary lateral right there. We could also use grass parking there. And this upper lot that's, the upper lot that's in the corner, there's grass parking to the right side of that. Right here.
That one.
Oh, so there is parking in this area here in the park. This right here, we'd rather not use that. We have that as an existing multipurpose field. There's nothing really assigned to it, but we do use it for practice spaces. And some activities we have, like I've got it now. We could always move those, but it's just one of the green space we'd like to keep in the park. This area here, there's an opening that is going to be made right here so that we could use grass parking in this area as well. So our asphalt parking is all right here, accessible parking here. I think a lot of this is based on need, so if we find that we do need more spaces later, we do have the ability to add on how we need to.
Looks like you got about 60 spaces, if I counted correctly, somewhere in that area.
Yeah, and then there's probably another additional 60 in that apartment area.
Okay, thank you. Any other question? Any other questions? All right, if not, thank you. Is there any public comment then on this case? All right, no public comment on this
Mr.
case?
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
You don't want to give a plug for how folks could go donate? I mean, I got to do that as county administrator. You can say
Yeah.
that quickly on your way.
Please give money, right?
Riverridge.com.
Thank you. All right, next case is case number S-02-24-01. James and Deborah Selvage have applied for a by right subdivision of a 9.7 acre A1 agriculture zoned lot. The subdivision would create 2 new lots and a residue lot. The new lots would be 3 acres and 3.6 acres, and the residue lot would be 3 acres. The subject lot does not contain a postal address, but is located on North Seminole Trail, roughly 450 feet from intersection with Hebron Valley Road, and is identified on Madison County's tax maps as 40-72. Anything to add on that, Jonathan?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know this has been before you, I think, prior, a few months ago. So what I can report on to this date, Kim, go to the subdivision, proposed subdivision plat, please. You'll see it. You'll see a cul-de-sac and all that. As Ms. Turner is pulling that up, keep going, please. It'll be the actual subdivision right there. That'll work. Thank you. So we do have the Health Department approval letter, and we do have approval from VDOT. I know initially, when submitted, VDOT had some comments, but their engineer provided a response, and it met VDOT satisfaction. Many of you may or may not be familiar with the property. So this was Wyndham property at one time, if you're familiar with Hebron Valley Road, that cuts between 29 and Hoover Road. This parcel is between Hebron Valley and the Robinson River Bridge on the southbound side of Route 29. What is listed to the right there says number 33, tax map, I think it's 40-73, is shown on this survey by Mr. Blankenbaker. That is the home site, which you can see today. So that is, it's separate parcel. I'm just trying to give you orientation of where this proposed subdivision is. When you pass by that home on Route 29, there's a white fence there, there's an opening. Up in the field, just around the fence there is that large rock. You'll see it labeled at the bottom of the plan. It says large flat rock. That is near where the proposed entrance will be. It says new 55 feet in variable width private right-of-way. That will be the access point that feeds into these lots. I do want to note that, and again, the applicant is here and can speak for this directly. I want to speak from what I did at courthouse search and had good conversation, I appreciate, with Ms. Salvage. The lot that's listed at the bottom of the screen where that flat rock is located, that I saw was at 3.17 acres at one time. This is pre-Route 29, the two-lane, which is now the southbound side, before it existed. When that road came through, portion of that acreage was taken. That left that lot to be roughly about 2.5 acres. The lot that has the subdivision on it, that's about a I think it's 9.7 or 9.73 acre lot. And that goes back to, I believe it's a 1937 survey. The remaining residue of that original 30-acre piece is a little over 13 acres that will be stay with the salvage. So the subdivision is of that 9.7 acre piece. Again, the proposed entrance comes through that 2.5 acre lot, just to the left of the large rock, into the newly proposed lots, which are part of that 9.7 acre piece. I do want to say for clarity and for my point of needing to have the complete file, so this is not the salvages, this is me owning this. I did not find, and it's possible that the prior staff did not ask for, but the private road maintenance agreement would kick in here, and I appreciate Mr. Wright for bringing that to our attention. I just had brief conversation with Ms. Selvich now, so it is not on her that she doesn't have that here tonight. But a private road maintenance agreement would need to be received, reviewed, and approved by the county attorney as part of bringing back for your joint meeting on May 1st, which is also the public hearing with the Board of Supervisors. So that is the only item that staff feels that we don't have to call this fully complete, but we do have BDH approval and we do have VDOT approval. And I would say any other questions you may have, you may want to ask those directly to the applicant.
Okay, would it be possible for us to get the GIS image of 40-72 from the tax map? So we
Yes,
can look at it from?
Yes, we can do that. So Kim, just type in the parcel search, the second one right there, 40-72. That'll at least get you into the orientation. I will say, as she's bringing that up, I do not find that layout that you're going to see on any plat book at the courthouse. I know in the GIS review and even in my good discussion with Ms. Salvage, the GIS shows plat books that don't even exist. Like I think it references a plat book 73, and I think plat books only go up to like 45. There is land records that reference two division tracts. I will say that, but I found nothing at the courthouse that supports that orientation of what is shown on the screen as 40-72 and 40-74. Normally, when the GIS, the layout is shown, and specifically I can speak for any new divisions or plats when they're recorded, we take that as a file and give that to our GIS coordinator, who then uploads the GIS to reflect that plat. So I have not found any record that supports the layout of the two tax map parcels that I referenced.
Jonathan, so that one particular lot down at the bottom with the large rock, it was noted earlier that that did not have a tax map ID. Has that been established, or?
That's not what it shows.
So is
not
that a
what it showed.
residue? Is that, what lot is that gonna be then?
Well, if that's a separate lot, how do we collect taxes on it with no tax map?
Well,
that would be a definitely.
Somebody's gotta pay taxes on it.
I don't disagree with that. I think that is something definitely suited and discussed with the Commissioner of Revenue.
I would think that it'd have to be, needs to be identified as something on our plan here.
Since we seem to be moving on to the applicants anyway, would you like to come up and answer questions? And is it possible, do you have the surveyor present?
He is not here,
Not
but he
here.
said he would make himself available on the phone if you have questions.
Okay. Yeah, and if you would just identify yourself and,
I'm
Okay.
Debbie Selvage. And I am trying with everything in me for the last 2 years to figure out the layout of this land.
Mhm.
I've asked every county person I can ask. I asked the people that we purchased the property through, it was an auction property. I've been asking the same questions. Who says it's laid out like this? I've gone to the tax records, I am paying taxes on 25 acres, just for the record. I don't know where these figures come from, I don't know where this diagram came from. I know that the overall 30-acre parcel, excuse me, let me use hopefully correct terminology, I'm not a surveyor, sorry, I'm nervous. The outline of the entire 30-acre parcel was recorded by Mr. Wenham in January of '22. That was just a couple months before we purchased the property. We had a surveyor come out as soon as we purchased the property, so we could get proper lines. He has provided a survey that is showing completely different than what you guys have up here. This is what the county is telling me and how they're charging me. But none of it is right. None of the figures are right, the diagram is not right. I am paying property taxes on 25 acres right now. The 5 acre, the 4073, that is a 5-acre parcel that has been sold with the original house. So I now have 25 acres of land. It doesn't look, it doesn't look like that.
right, that's the question that we were having to, yeah.
Correct. It doesn't look like that. And I've gone through the records. I can tell you the things that I have found in the records, which are the same things that my surveyor has found. And what we had up there a few minutes ago, the 9-acre parcel in the back. I'm sorry, I know this is. 44.
Well, we have it in front of us, so, yeah.
Yes, the 9-acre parcel in the back has been reported at the county for a very long time. So, I'm sorry, come back and forth. The 3-acre parcel is reported in the county records, if you go back and find. It's, plat book 3, page 8. This is the 3-acre parcel, that is now only 2.8. Because the state took part of it away. Okay, so this is part of county records, and the 9-acre parcel in the back is part of county records. So the residue beyond that is the 13 acres that's not really showing up here. But I am paying property tax on 25 acres. And the references that you guys have, you guys being the county, I guess, I'm sorry. The numbers for plat books and the such, again, are not correct. If you go to, I'm sorry, I'm very nervous, my paperwork's full of things. So if I go to your GIS, this is the one that references plat book 43, page 62, and it's listed as 12 acres. But if you actually pull that up, I was up at records again today, and it actually shows that as a 30-acre parcel. So what is it? Is it 12 acres, is it 30 acres? So the whole thing is, I don't know what else to say. It's a mess.
Mr. Chairman, I have a
Yes, sir.
couple questions
Mhm.
for Mr. Wright. It looks like to me, like Mr. Weekly says, that this whole thing, the last time it was recorded as 30 acres. But it's very true that she says, when you go to the courthouse, if you pull the records, that lot right there is an existing lot that's, was 3.17 or something at one time, and VDOT took some of it, and now it's 2.7. But that lot does exist in the courthouse.
So, I think it's the Blankenbaker survey of Forty Tax 73.
I'm sorry.
You all had a,
Blake and Baker is who,
yeah,
surveyed
of
for
Forty
us.
Tax 73.
Okay.
And then, I mean, I could be reading it wrong, but it looks like she's got that little, I'm gonna call it a dog leg, with 2 to 3 acres as being a part of tax map parcel 40-74.
No.
And 72. That dog leg goes into 72.
And then, as far as so the 30 acres, and I think you were holding it up, it's a 2005 survey?
It was,
Let's go.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. And I've got papers everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, so this is reported to the county.
Can I grab the picture?
Yes, please.
So.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got this 30-acre one, Mr. Elliott? You're talking about this one?
Yeah.
It's a 2005 survey, it got reported in 2022.
So that's the last recorded survey in Madison County.
Except that it also points out that there's 3 different parcels in it, but then it doesn't mark out where the parcels lines are. So this thing's, to my mind, totally unhelpful.
As far as record, that's
Confusing.
what's on record in the courthouse with this piece of land.
It is in addition to the deeds, and the deeds report them as separate, line them out, as separate 40 tax 72s, 40 tax 73s.
Then that little piece of land should have a tax map, if that's the case.
It doesn't.
Right. Well, and then
If I can- I can't.
survey.
So I think
This thing is acting weird when I plug in. It goes up there.
Yeah.
I can't see anything.
So what he
It's
did
driving me
is this,
crazy.
it's the 3 and this one, but
Yeah.
the one that's being divided is this piece.
Right.
So this is the 9-acre tract.
All right, stand by.
Yes, just relax. These are the same questions that we've all had, so. Yeah.
So, this one is in the back, this is 40 dash 73. That TM.
Yeah, it'll come up there. This will black. And I can't see what the heck I'm doing.
Okay.
So that's why I was under the thread of part 40 dash 74, and because it doesn't have gas, parcel ID on its own.
I think that is there because that was the original, I don't want to say original, wrong words. According to the county, that is part of, because that 2-ish acre parcel is right about here.
No. It borders 40 dash
Oh, wait a
73.
minute, wrong, sorry, here. This goes.
Right.
So you're saying it says 4074?
Yes.
Yeah, 4074, because it's part of what this is. And if you'd like me to get the surveyor.
But that's actually,
I don't know what that, I don't know what that is, because
well, here's the, I guess the question.
It's not labeled.
Have you gotten all 3, I know you've gotten 40 dash 72, have you gotten 40 dash 72 and 40 dash 74 surveyed?
Mr. Blankenbaker, it's not 4074, that's the problem. So when we say 4072 and 4074, the surveyor doesn't see it that way. And he has not surveyed the entire 25 acres that is still mine. He has surveyed the 9-acre parcel. So he surveyed the 9-acre parcel and worked on the divisions, and he made reference to, I am not making this up. He is the one who told me that this is a 2.6 acre parcel. So when I went back to the land records and pulled up and investigated more on my own, I did find this 3.17 acres, which in shape matches exactly to what Mr. Blankenmaker has. And further, Route 29, eminent domain, whatever it was, the state took a strip off the front of that parcel.
I understand, but I think there's a 1944 deed that includes it in 40 dash, what I'm calling 40 dash 74, making it 12 acres.
Past May 2nd of 1944, because that's when this is dated.
I only put 1944, I didn't think there was one in there.
I think you're correct, because that would make,
And you're also, you're being
That's
taxed
true.
on 30 acres.
The 5 acres is not mine anymore.
Okay,
It's
I
in the
got you.
house and it's not mine.
Right.
I was though, however, yes. I was.
Okay, if I'm understanding you correctly, what your surveyor has on here that he says is 40-72, he's not showing the little piece that has the big rock on it. He's showing just that portion that does not touch 29 at any point. Is that correct?
Correct. Parcel, what he refers to as parcel 3.
Okay, in other words, that piece of it is what you're asking to subdivide.
Yes.
But it's not, according to any of the records we have, that's not all of 40-72. And that's where the problem is. It's identified as 40-72, but it appears to be only part of 40-72,
So,
which is why we have so many questions about it.
right, if this little piece right here is still the tax map number that it originally was, minus what the state took.
Mhm.
And she sells off these 3 lots right here, and that's the right of way to get through that little piece.
Mhm.
The other little piece that's left there, who's that gonna belong to, and who's gonna get taxed on that?
Good question. So, according to Brian Daniel, that does not have its own tax map parcel number. And this is the man in charge of all tax.
Mhm.
But it does in the courthouse.
Well, I don't know that it has a tax map parcel number.
no, it doesn't. In Plat Book 3, page 8, it shows the 3.17 acre lot, Mr. Elliott, but it does not assign a tax map number.
So it's, what Brian Daniel is doing, and he's doing the best he can, because this is a little bit of a soup sandwich. Is, we've got a good survey, we think, on the one you sold,
Mhm.
40-73, so that gets taxed at 5.12 acres. 40-74, he's got that at 12 acres, which comports with what I found in the courthouse,
Who has that as well?
Mr. Daniel.
Okay.
And then you're being, I have 40-72 being 10.65 acres, not the 9.7, and you're being taxed at 13.478 acres. Right. Conundrums. I can't make you go do surveys. I think it would be helpful if you got a survey on,
I mean, I paid for a survey for the 9-acre parcel that I'm trying to divide.
I understand, but we're not clear what it is actually that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
own as part of that parcel that you're trying to divide. Or at least I'm not. I can't speak for you.
So the fact that I've paid for survey for 12 acres, which consists of 4 lots, and have all that work done, I'm gonna have to have the remaining 13 point whatever acre division parcel surveyed as well in order to do this division of the 9-acre parcel?
Well, I think, I mean, you can discuss it, I think there's a problem that we don't exactly know what we're dealing with.
Right. It would be helpful if the surveyor could kind of lead us through how he decided.
He's on, I can get him on the phone. He is more than willing
Let's,
to
yeah,
talk to
do
you.
that.
Yes, by all means, let's try that.
Could I ask a quick
Yeah,
follow-up?
right.
Following up on Pete with Mr. Hannon? The lot that's not a lot
Yeah,
was conforming until the state did its thing. And now it's non-conforming. So a non-conforming lot doesn't give you the carte blanche right to have a non-conforming use. So what is the value of that lot? Why shouldn't it just be split up among the other three?
Well, I'm not convinced it's not already, is, I'll say subsumed into another one of these.
Okay, good. Because that's my concern. If you're having a non-conforming lot, you can't have a non-conforming use.
I don't know, I'm not sure how to handle this. Should I put him on speaker and put his little
Yes, to
voice
the
up here?
microphones, you can.
Okay. All right, Chris, you're on speaker in front of God and everybody. So, have at it, guys.
okay, I guess basically what we're trying to discover is we went from the GIS map that shows 40-72, actually with frontage on 29, to a smaller piece.
I'm sorry, Debbie, you're gonna have to move closer to the
Okay,
Can we, let's call him from here.
oh,
What's his number?
Chris, let me call you right back. Thanks, bye. 540-908-9669.
Nate, put it in the mic, put the mic
This is Chris Blankenbaker.
Yes.
What we have for the record.
Okay, let's try again.
Mr. Blankenbaker, you have Chairman Carpenter here on the phone.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. My question basically is 40-72 appears on the county's GIS maps as actually having frontage on Route 29. And the subdivision plat shows it not having any frontage on 29. And we don't see where it went from one to the other.
That's correct. Yeah, the tax maps, and this is of course with any mapping, are not survey plats. So whoever generated those tax maps in that form was incorrect in doing so.
Okay, so essentially, you have taken points recorded previously to use to make the 40-72 is actually just this kind of trapezoidal shape up here, not touching 29.
Correct. And, it may have been taxed correctly as far as acreage, but the orientation within the total external boundary of the selvages was just not portrayed right on the GIS.
Yes, yes.
They're also questioning parcel 4. Right, there's apparently some kind of big dispute or debate as to where parcel 4 came from, and it doesn't have a tax map number. Can you give any input on that?
That's correct. The parcel 4, when you look through the records found in the clerk's office, is a separate lot obtained by the Winhams. And at one point was a much larger lot, but they lost quite a bit when the bypass, or at least 29, was expanded. So in total, there's about 4 lots in there that the Wyndhams owned, which now the house lot is sold, and the pastures and separate parcels of land obtained, what the salvages inherited.
I know that this is beyond what you were doing. Were you able to find what, where the remaining part of that that's shown on our GIS map, what that belongs to?
Well, just like any GIS map, there could be points where the maps show, but they could be as close as 5 feet, and they could be as close as 10 feet. But there is no actual survey ever produced that I've ever seen that's ever shown this property in the orientation according to the GIS map.
Interesting.
But when you do look at the GIS, there's a row of cedar trees that is clearly at one point a separate parcel that lines up with our survey results. And there's monuments found, axles and large iron bars, signifying that that is correct according to our plat.
Very good.
So
Yes.
I've got a question
Yes,
that I've
Mike.
been thinking about for quite a while. So,
Can you hear Mike okay?
Yes.
got
Okay,
me, Chris? Okay. So this little spot coming in off of that, what would be lot number 4, there's like a little bitty piece between that and 73. I was originally thinking that was going to be the access coming into these lots, that you were going to cross over that big, large rock. But I'm looking at this a little bit differently now, and it's where it shows that this is a new 55-foot variable width right-of-way. You're actually coming down 29 and making a right straight in on the left-hand side of the large rock. Is that correct for the right-of-way?
Yes.
Okay, so why the curvature in the line that comes across in front of that particular lot? What is that identifying?
I don't think he understood your question, because I'm sorry. So the area here, there's already a drive apron that exists, and it was used as agricultural, but there's already a drive apron that exists. Once you start coming up this way, you have from 29, from the roadway, you have quite a dip, and then it
Okay,
goes up a
so you
hill.
don't just come in right here?
No.
Okay.
We will be entering right here.
And
come
go
this
across the
way
rock?
Around the rock.
Around the rock?
The 50-foot, it's a 50-foot easement that encompasses the rock, but the actual driveway will be,
So you're clearing those trees there along
Yes.
the line, I'm guessing where the rock,
Yes.
and that's gonna be the road.
and it will go right along the property line
Right,
there.
right into
Right
the old
on, yeah.
tractor trailer.
Beautiful, thank you.
So that piece,
Thanks, Mike. Yeah.
so that piece of land that's joining that right-of-way there, what's it gonna become part of?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
The piece of land that, where you come in off of 29, the little piece that's in question down in the corner, it's 2.6 acres. What is that gonna become part of? Is that gonna be just 2.6 acres by itself?
Correct. As you'll see on the plat in the title, it is both a boundary survey and a boundary subdivision. So we were able to find original monumentation and also set corners where there were marks of alignment throughout that property. That it's very clear that that was always a separate piece of land, and that large rock that's out there is actually originally described in those deeds.
Well, that's a non-conforming lot.
Well, it lost a lot of land to 29.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You don't have your survey for
40-73, do you?
Not presently. But go ahead and ask your question. I'm very familiar with it.
Yeah, it just looks, the way it's written, to the border to the left, you've got tax map 40-74, and it looks like it's also including that fourth kind of mystery lot as being a part of 40-74.
Well, it's at the time, that's how I was instructed to present it. And the GIS maps were constructed in that way, so that's how that tax map was shown there.
What do you mean you were instructed to do it?
As with any survey plat that we draft, ultimately the surveyor does final review, and that's how it ended up being finalized.
Should that one little 2-acre lot just not become part of Lot 1? And then it would be conforming? And then it would be part of a tax map? Just make that 2.7 acres part of Lot 1, and then it all becomes one lot.
I mean, I don't care for it to be together.
I mean, it's not conforming at this point anyway, so you couldn't do much with it.
I mean, I don't know who makes that decision. I was not told that previously.
It's an existing non-conforming lot, but we don't,
It's
that doesn't
existing.
limit what you can do with it in A1. I think that's correct.
That's what I was told previously.
Yeah, it's the opinion of the one who reads the code, but if the code was enacted after the lot was even created, it's my opinion that it's an existing lot.
But it's also been called part of 40-74.
So it's gonna be leftovers being something. That was my point. It's gonna be
Yeah.
leftovers being something.
Well, I mean, we have pieces like that scattered all over the county, but they're usually not that large.
Non-conforming or conforming, it's gonna be leftovers being something.
Well, it's still registered in plat book for page 8 as 3.17 acres minus what the state has taken off of it, and it's grandfathered, it's a building lot. I don't know what
It's,
non-conforming, conforming, my understanding is it's a lot, it was that size before the dawn of time, and it is a buildable parcel of land.
and it's another lot that you own. Yeah.
Well, the other thing too with it is, you're taking a lot that's already too small, and you're taking a right-of-way completely out of that lot that's making it even smaller.
I don't know that the majority of that right of way is not being taken off of that lot. The
Well, some of it
majority that-
is.
Well, it has to be, and it says here that,
The down in the front is being taken off of that lot, but when it comes up the sideline, the majority of the right of way is over on that, what is, I assume, 13 and a half-ish acres.
Well, you went from 2.7, now you're taking roughly 55 feet away from it.
I think you're
So what
saying
we've
that-
been saying so far, when we talk about the other stuff, is when you take a non-conforming lot, which this is, and it was previously done, which was okay, but you're making it smaller now, which we are trying to say that you can't take a non-conforming lot and make it smaller and it'd be okay. You can take a non-conforming lot and keep it the same, but when you take it and make it smaller, that's kind of where we've been talking about drawing the line at.
Yeah, but
I'd like to input that a right-of-way can be something where you cross over the property, but perhaps also as an access easement. You're not owning the area in between the edge of right-of-way. You're just simply granted the access.
How about that?
The home I'm living in now, as an example, to back that up, I own 10 acres, and my neighbor has a 50-foot right-of-way to get to his property, but it's still my land, and I still pay taxes on it.
make that a conforming lot during the boundary adjustment, but there's some of the land that's beside it.
But the assertion that's being made, by Mike, and I think he's probably pretty close, is subtracting land from a non-conforming lot changes the aspects of that lot and what you can do with it. It would seem that you need to shift that right-of-way down the hill towards the river so that you don't affect the non-conforming lot and leave it as a building lot. As a grandfathered non-conforming building lot.
Well, and again, just some input. The salvages own the area around there, so if it's their intent to shift boundaries or change the entire orientation of that existing lot, it should be their right to do so. Barely.
I know 40-72 got reported back in 2022 as 10.65 acres. Do you have any explanation for why it's 9.7? Like, where that delta comes from?
The areas as shown on our survey plat are according to a current field survey.
I got a question here.
Okay.
So we've got a 2.6 acre lot roughly that's in question with no tax map.
Yes.
And you're taking 50 feet by 250 feet or so off of that lot, right? For that right of way?
It's just simply an access.
Right, that's where I'm headed. And so if that, let's just say everything gets approved here, that lot is sold as a building lot, previously non-conforming, it's sold as, what would it be sold as, 2.6 acres? They would be paying taxes on 2.6 acres? They would own
Yes.
2.6 acres?
Yes.
I mean, if they had a swamp on the back of it that was an acre, it would be useless to them, but they would have 2.6 acres. If it's a right-of-way on the front, they still have 2.6 acres. I don't see where it's reducing the size of the lot.
I guess I've got a different issue, which is it's been reported as being part of 40-74.
Well, yeah,
And now it's being said it's not.
it's a whole nother set of problems.
Well, you're on survey. For 40-73.
That's how it was taxed. You know, it's just simply shown as a tax map. It's not to say that the boundary of that lot extends to both, and that it's just simply how it was taxed. That to my understanding, they were taxed very, very close to the actual area. It's just simply not oriented right on the GIS.
What about the easement being within the non-conforming lot, Shannon? Does that bring new questions?
I mean, it's not a question I thought of. To me, it's still the same lot size. So, to me, that's where the analysis put in. The fact that it's being used, there's another estate that's being served by it, doesn't change the lot size.
Yeah, that's been done for a long time. I've got, in fact, the driveway into my home is on a right-of-way, and my poor neighbor, who all these years has been paying tax on his land, it shows that little tiny strip as his land. He's been paying taxes on it, even though there's a right-of-way through it. So that, the right-of-way doesn't, or easement, I guess is the correct term, doesn't actually affect the lot size, I guess is what we're saying.
But it affects the amount of usable land.
Yeah, but as far as taxing or who owns that piece of land, it's still whoever owns that lot. It's not who has the right of way. The owner of the lot still has that land.
I guess there's a particular reason why you want to use that front of that lot for that. Now, you don't want to come, like I was showing you on your piece of paper, you want to come straight off of 29 and make it a straight shot and come in and go across that lot and back up. Is there a particular reason for that?
So what happens is just beyond where the existing entryway is, just beyond this, the grade of the hill, it gets pretty tremendous there.
Yeah.
It goes down into a fairly deep culvert off of 29.
Right off of 29.
Right, and when they came through and took that extra land, it created a steep.
There's a 12 or 14-foot embankment there.
at
Yeah,
least.
yeah.
And it gets much higher than that, depending on how far down you go.
Yeah. All right, I'm still trying to, you actually own the other land that does front on 29, is that correct? Do you know what tax map number that is?
According to the county,
Well, I mean, whatever you've got some kind of deed.
I'd say according to the deed, not the.
Yeah, yeah. Not the GIS. Yeah, obviously, we can't have to throw that one out the
when
window.
you say according to the deed, Chris got his information from the deed, and what Chris came up with is this that you guys have a copy.
Well-
Have a copy of it. Would you like to see this?
Yeah, I'm just, is that, this little piece here to 29?
Yes, that's this. It's not really a little piece, it's this.
Well,
It's 13 and a half
it's the
acres.
remainder of it, yeah.
That's
That
what
is-
is left, once Chris surveyed off the 9 and the 2.6.
All right, so that is 40-74.
That's what, Chris
That's what
has
he's
it listed
saying.
as
Okay.
4074.
Yeah.
County does not.
Right.
Chairman, could I ask the applicant a question?
Yes, certainly.
I'm just curious, to solve all this problem where this lot wouldn't be interfered with or whatever, did you ever ask VDOT about coming in that other 50-foot entrance?
Off of Hebron Valley?
Yes.
That was my first choice. VDOT did not like that approach.
Did not like it or would not do it?
They said that it probably wouldn't pass. There is the site distance over there, and I understood what he was saying once we walked over there and saw it. There really is none. I mean, I think they required 250 feet, and on the 29 side, of where that entryway would be, I mean, I paid to have the survey done. I was working for that. Up on the 29 side of the entryway is a knoll, and on the other side is a curb. So when you're coming from back in there from Hoover, you cross over the street, that's a curb right there. And I would be literally right next door to the other driveway, for that nice man that has the map.
But pardon me. but-
Yes, yes.
They, the FONES, that's the name, they use that entrance right now?
That is their driveway, that is the one
So
and only
VDOT has
option they
approved
have.
it at some point, if it's a residential driveway, I would
They
assume.
proof-read me. They told me not.
So, so they would rather you have an entrance off of a 60-mile-an-hour four-lane highway
Yeah.
than off of a back country road, you know?
Yes.
May I interject? VDOT controls or determines by the number of lots how many uses you can have. So for example, for one use or an existing use, it just has to be the safest that's available. When you go to develop a piece of property and add 4 or 5 more uses of it, once you get, usually 1, 2 is okay, 3, once you get 4 or more uses, VDOT typically requires what's called a commercial entrance, which is you have to have 10 feet of visual sight for every mile per hour of road, and plus also, so to get what I'm gonna call a subdivision entrance, you have to have 500-600 feet of sight distance horizontally and vertically.
Which clearly this doesn't, yeah.
I'm supposing that's why VDOT won't approve the other entrance. Now, for just one use, and if it was in existence,
Right.
they're not gonna fall on it.
That makes sense.
Thank you.
Pardon my interruption.
No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Commercial entrance is what VDOT is qualifying with that, so I guess that all ties in, it makes sense.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask Mr. Hannon a question?
Certainly.
VDOT is a recommending agency. The county doesn't have to abide by what VDOT says, correct?
Correct. I mean, we don't have a requirement. We have our own requirements in the ordinance. VDOT's got its own regulations.
Can I put a little bit of something else with that? I'm not quite sure how far your thought process is going, but if we are allowed to use that entrance down there, are we only gonna be able to use it for one lot? I mean, that's apparently, like I said, that made sense what he was saying, that
Right.
ties into the things that I did get from VDOT. Again, I'm not a VDOT employee.
What if she came in,
I'm trying
what if she come
Yeah,
follow
that-
everybody so we can do everything that I need to do.
from down at the river?
Yeah. And primarily, the reason that you're that far up the hill, right by that rock outcrop, is because if you come any further down the hill, your entrance is almost impossible.
Yes.
But there is another entrance too that you have down at the end of the river, right?
There is another entrance down there, the 13 point, whatever, the smaller lot, that you guys, that's now hopefully gonna be called 40-74. That does have another entrance down,
Mhm.
down at the bottom of the hill. Yes.
Not that that one's highly recommended either, because it's right near the
Well,
bridge.
I mean, it's coming off of someone else's
Yeah.
right away, so you can
Yeah.
only get so much in there too.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the same side of the road, it's the same,
It's even more dangerous.
where we're looking at putting it in, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know the measurements, but you've got a fairly decent line of sight up 29, and it is only 29 south, and you're not crossing
Right, you won't be allowed to
north
cross
and
there.
south, it's coming in just one direction traffic.
It's a right in, right out entrance, yes. Well, we're very confused.
Isn't the solution to this,
Welcome to my world.
isn't the solution to this is that she goes and records her drawn map, or whatever map this is, the Blankenbaker map on, the one that, I don't know, 2022, let's say. Record that in the courthouse so it shows the lines, and it's been done by an appraiser, or by a surveyor, excuse me. And then the 9.73 acres, even with the non-conforming lot, is a by right subdivision based on the acreage. The concern is that the other lot, the lower lot, the one that's right on 29, being, what says here is 13.55, but we're calling, I guess, 12 now. Let's not, we're 13.55. That not being surveyed, I think leaves us open in a lot of different ways. Because I'm concerned that once you decide to go down the path on that 13.55 acre lot, and you find that there's multiple other lines in there that nobody knew about, that changes kind of the whole scope of this whole project.
If I may interject, the exterior boundary of what was the Wynnum's lot has been surveyed, and the last remaining parcel that the Wynnums obtained is what's shown as the 13 and some acreage. So we're pretty confident that if we go out there and we survey the points that was surveyed before by a Mr. Michael Moreau, who is now employed as a VDOT surveyor, that we're going to find them fairly close to where he shows on his survey plat. So again, we don't anticipate there being many other surprises.
I'm rarely impressed by VDOT. I mean, I do. I think that you've got multiple different additions to this. She is paying taxes, or was paying taxes on the original 30 acres of it. Where these other lines came from, since nobody seems to be able to source any of that. The non-conforming lot is grandfathered. I do think there is some questions on whether the right-of-way changes the use of a non-conforming lot. I agree that they still pay taxes. All of it, the easements are very simple. Good Lord, it's the non-conforming part that makes this complicated. Everybody else's easements don't matter. The big one here, I think, is that you need to record that, and then it is a very simple by right subdivision.
If I may,
It also, sorry, Mr. Smith, it also may require a deed of correction.
Very good. Thank you.
and if you, when you're doing that, kick the southern boundary for that non-conforming lot over 50 feet. You're going to be going through it. You've said that the right-of-way for the driveway affects nothing. Make it a conforming lot, because the rest of that property, you're not going to build anything on. It is. I mean, you could just put West Virginia cows on it, 2 short legs and 2 long ones. And then you can solve the non-conforming issue.
What are you saying, like a boundary adjustment for the 2.6?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what you're saying?
That would make it exceedingly simpler.
Yeah.
But I don't think, I
Nothing
don't.
has been
No,
simple
agreed. But
since
that's
I've
why I'm
operated
saying that I think that you have a surveyed map that is the most recent. It does seem to state the same thing as what was conveyed in the sale, and which is stated by the 1940, 44, whatever year that was, saying that it has 30 acres in totality, but there's 4 different lots involved on it. So, but I do think it is the responsibility of the planning commission and then the board to require something to be recorded so that this thing cannot come back and slap us in the face and with new scenarios that just go all over the place. Because nobody's working off the same map. I mean, it looks to me like everybody's working off about 17 maps. But that has to be the solution here. And then it is a conforming by right subdivision.
This remaining property, is that all 40-74?
The remaining property.
Right.
It's approximately 13.5 acres, as far as my understanding through Chris. That is supposed to be parcel 40-74. Again, that's not what you guys haven't recorded.
Right. But your surveyor seems to think that they would have
Yes.
corners that they could locate that would be close.
Yes,
So-
yes, and the tax maps are not recorded documents. The orientation that we use for these lot developments, they are recorded plats. In fact, any of the deeds and plats that are shown in our property information, you can go down there and you could trace them and you could overlay them on our plat. And for the most part, they're fairly close. For a 70, 80-year-old survey.
David Lewis, you're a surveyor. Does the solution of registering this in a correction deed seem like a reasonable type of direction to go?
I
Yes.
haven't done I'm sure Chris has done, all I've seen is a couple of plats, but yeah, it seems to me if there's some kind of error with the tax map and it should be resolved before because I'm not sure, and again, Chris did the record work and they do excellent work. Either the 9 acres is tax map 74, or the 13 acres is 74. They both can't be 74 as separate parcels.
Right.
The numbers don't matter. We're
Right.
we're going through a reassessment We can work with the Commissioner of Revenue to get the numbers right. As long as total tax bills being paid up here, we're very happy. But then the subdivision, it's just not a piece. It's the lot that is in question is the concern.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying I should take this to the county and have it recorded? Chris's survey?
Hannah?
And this still does not have a
So
lot
this is,
number?
this is not a mandate, this is a suggestion. Is that you would, so your
Not
40-72
Mhm.
is recorded as of 2022 being 10 and some acres. Right?
No.
Yes. That is the deed from 2022, when you all purchased it in 22, is that right?
Let's be clear, so
Sure.
I purchased it in July of 22.
Yes.
The 30-acre survey that was,
Not talking about that.
okay,
So I've got looking at a deed that says 22.65 acres in two parcels, 40-72 and 40-74, 10.65 and 12 respectively. You tracking so far? So
okay.
the recorded deed for 40-72 is 10.65 acres, which is about an acre off from the 9.7 that Mr. Blankenbaker has surveyed. So
Yep.
suggestion is record the survey along with the deed of correction, a little one-pager saying we've had this surveyed, we believe it's this, 9.7.
Okay, the 40-72.
Yes.
That's suggestion one. Suggestion two would be to take that fourth mystery residue and make it conforming, which would be 3 acres. And ask for a tax map parcel ID number for that.
And since you already own 40-74, that would be a simple boundary adjustment. Yeah.
Right. So do both of those options, not one or the other.
Right. Sorry.
Why would she record only one of the lots and not the property in its totality?
The only
Because
one.
that would give clarity to whatever they plan on doing with the 13.55 acres in the future.
I was taking Mr. Blankenbaker at his word that that would get sorted out once it was time to sort that one out. And that could be done down the road. But if they wanted to get an A+ on this paper, yes.
If-
I'm not an overachiever at this point.
No,
I'll take a
no,
seat.
no, no, but you
Yeah.
don't, no, but you don't, not just overachieving. You don't want to go through this again.
You are right. I
So
did not.
that's why I'm saying that you should record this, whatever exhibit this is, in totality, so that we lay this thing to rest. And then whatever your plans are with the 13.55, come back and see us, or your heirs do, or whoever the heck it is, at least we know where we're at, and we're working off of a clean slate. It definitely has issues, and they're significant issues, if you really want the truth. But this would get us where we're closer than we certainly are 20 minutes ago.
And that 13.55 would turn into 13.05.
To make it a conforming lot. You just using it.
I think what we're gonna,
But, right, because if I'm recording this, then I'm not recording a conforming
That's,
lot.
that's correct. That's correct. And you can record that, and then you can do a boundary adjustment later. It doesn't really, that's an easy part.
Okay.
That's simple.
So-
One
It's
step at a
getting the
time.
9.7, it's getting the 9.73 so that it is a lot, and it is a by right subdivision to do what you're looking to do.
Yeah.
and I would think, just to add further, Chairman Jackson, that this would go perfect with the deed of, where it talks about land divisions in July, track 1, track 2, 72, 74. This survey, or this July 25th, 2022, or as Mr. Chairman would say, what's on the screen, that would line up beautifully. I mean, it's a little bit of acreage off, but it gets you close. Because those tax map parcels that are listed here, 40-72 and 40-74, are on that July document at the courthouse. There's no plat shown. That's where it gets confusing between the GIS. But if this is filed, and maybe a deed of correction on that that states the actual acreage as shown in this survey, I think you're close.
Someone will guide me through a deed of correction somewhere along the line. Anyone want to volunteer?
Mr. Purdy?
Oh, good Lord.
Okay, yeah, we're getting off track.
The only comment, since we're given suggestions, and it's for your benefit, is going with the boundary line adjustment off the 2.5 acres. You want to make sure, if you do a boundary line adjustment, that you only take a half an acre to make it a conforming lot, but then you do not jeopardize division rights on the remainder 13 acres. Because you would be able to subdivide that 4 ways. If you take too much, it will, yes, ma'am.
On that note, I just wanted to bring up, in the zoning ordinance, section 4-11, and I think, I don't know, the wording's a little, whatever, you guys know all this stuff better than me, but, and just this last section, a lot tract of parcel of land created by a boundary adjustment is not, will not have additional division rights for 10 years. I don't know about the word created, because you're not really
That's not
creating it
right,
or whatever, but I'm assuming that would not apply in this case if the boundary line adjustment was done and then the division would still be
Yeah, well,
eligible, I'm assuming. right?
I think we've got a sort of a fix on that coming in the rest of today's agenda.
Yeah,
Just
but,
gonna limit that from 10 years to 1 year, if passed.
yeah, unfortunately, this predates any proposed amendments, so she's still kind of stuck with the 10-year thing right now. Because we can't go retroactive, I don't think.
We should wait till next week.
Right.
No.
This lot was created before zoning.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think that makes sense.
All of these were. And it's, in this kind of terrain, it's not unusual to have that kind of discrepancy in acreage either. Because the GIS, the tax maps tend to be a vertical shot downward, and you've got land that's going like this. If in the future you are going to be planning on further subdividing 40-74, you would be almost certainly planning to utilize that right-of-way that you're proposing here, the 50-foot one. Is that correct? Or, I mean, I'm putting you on the spot, I guess, but.
I can only use it for X number of entryways.
Right, right.
Dwellings.
Two more lots.
Two more, yeah.
Two more. So, possibly, yes, I guess, if we learn to look into it crystal ball.
Just so you're aware that at the present time, yes, that would be a limitation on it, yeah. All right. One last time. This non-conforming lot, the little piece down on the end that touches the road, touches 29, that is part of 40-72. Is that what we're saying?
No. we're
It's
saying
not part of
it
anything.
doesn't have a tax map number.
So it's not actually part of the subdivision request?
It is not.
Okay. All right. Any
I've
other?
got one more thought.
Confuse us more, okay?
It's clear as mud right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently Hinchy and Baines submitted something to the Department of Transportation on March 9th.
Yes.
Do we have any record of what they have submitted? I mean, because the VDOT has said it is generally acceptable, whatever that is.
That's their bulletproof
Right.
term. If it's not acceptable, then you got a list of comments. So initially, when this was submitted, VDOT had comment, Marvin and them responded to that, and then that letter was issued where they say general acceptance. By the way, they don't sign plats anymore. They say their letter of approval is their signature.
Being that they have said that on March 9th, did that change from what we're looking at on here at all?
No?
Okay.
I was wondering, all that same stuff, it's like, this is a, thing from Hinge and Baines is acceptable, and there's.
Right.
I don't even know what that is. Could be totally different.
It could be totally
They just
different.
wanted me to pay more money.
They'll do that.
Mr. Chairman, and another note that I see here on the drawings that you might want to just mention to them, it says that the new right-of-way they're gonna put in is 55 or variable. So when they submit that to Mr. Wright, they want to make sure that it don't go down to 30 because of a rock or what have you.
Yeah, and
I mean, you can speak to that.
well, I think what Pete's saying is, if you say variable, it can vary either way. And if he's saying you don't want it to be varying down to 20 feet somehow. Yeah, to go around that rock, yeah.
I remember Mr. Webb stating that variable at 55 feet meant that was the minimum width, would be 55, but I have not verified the
Yeah, yeah.
accuracy.
We had a question some time ago about that, because we had never come across it, easement.
Moving in, because y'all have been through, I don't know, several workshops, let's say.
Yeah.
If they were to get this recorded prior to the joint hearing, and added the recorded copy as like an addendum to it, would that take care of it and give us a place to act potentially?
Potentially.
Mike is off, but we all
Well-
heard. So it would be, we're gonna do the same thing if we do this again.
Yeah,
Right.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
just
Need to get on it.
yeah,
record it.
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, that,
Recorded in private road maintenance agreement.
yeah. the
Things I'm
That's
tracking.
y'all want.
Got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Record the 9-acre division request.
so we have a recorded 40-72.
Record this on the,
I think
Yes.
you gotta record the whole thing.
That, yeah.
Okay.
his July 25th, 2022 survey. Because that in the future, like they said, if you want to do a boundary line adjustment of 0.5 acres, which would come off your 13.55, that goes into the 2.5. But if you file that, that's what they're looking for you to bring back at the joint meeting on the 1st in your road maintenance agreement.
I would also again say, need a correction.
Yep.
We're cleaning this up as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the subdivision itself, that's not a problem. The whole problem was the underlying
What are we
recorded
subdividing?
deeds, yeah. So get it recorded, yes.
Yes, ma'am. But in totality.
Yeah.
The whole 25 acres still belongs to me, not the 5 acre is not of the.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Painful but worth it, we hope. Thank you, ma'am.
I would suggest that if you're not writing this down, that you could probably call Mrs. Clatterbuck.
You see all my notes?
Yeah, right, well, you could probably call Mrs. Clatterbuck.
Who, can I get a
Our-
number, please? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, at that point, I guess, is there any public comment on this case? No public comment, okay. Very good. All right, next case, case number S-02-24-02. Pearl and Lily Builders LLC have applied for a by right subdivision of a 10.9 acre A1 agriculture zoned lot. The subdivision would create 2 new lots and a residue lot. The new lots would be 3.7 acres and 4.2 acres, and the residue lot would be 3 acres. The residue lot contains an existing dwelling addressed as 3563 Orange Road, Aurora, Virginia, and is identified on Madison County's tax maps as 57-115A. All right, Jonathan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This too has VDH approval as well as VDOT's approval. I will say that as well in your packet is a road maintenance agreement. Ms. Turner, if you'll bring that up, I think that'll be a matter of discussion here momentarily. Mr. Wright has reviewed that, may have some minor comment around it, but I think some of it is at least dates used. But overall, they have the road maintenance agreement in place. This feeds from the existing residue over to two lots. Kim, can you bring that up as well, please, the survey of the lots for this? There is existing access there off Route 230, Orange Road. Again, the private road maintenance agreement will cover what you see to the left from the residue, which will feed into the two new lots. And could in the future, which is not on for the books tonight, the additional tax map that they own beside parcel D. So again, VDH approval, VDOT approval, and the private road maintenance agreement. I don't know, Mr. Wright, if you have any comments around that. Kim, please bring that back up. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all staff has, unless you have any questions around the road maintenance agreement or other questions of the application.
Okay, quick question on the, can you bring back the plat, the map there? Yeah. All right, the 50-foot right-of-way. All right, is that, I can't really tell what they intended there. It looks like there's a angle change there where it touches the road, and then it goes over to the, proposed new 50-foot wide access easement. So they have, from the original drawing, they've now changed that to go up and touch the, one of the existing entrances. Is that, am I reading that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So there's two existing entrances denoted on the residue, which is tax map 57-115A. They are showing the proposed new 50-foot wide access easement starting at that, and it's a U-shaped driveway right now if you were to drive by. So yes, sir, it does match up from that existing driveway and go through the two new proposed divisions.
Okay, so basically they were listening to us and decided to reduce the number of entrances on 230 there.
Yes, sir.
Good. Does anyone have a question for? Any other question? Okay, and they have submitted the copy for your review of the road maintenance agreement?
Yes, and I've
Okay.
reviewed it, and some minor but important additions. Really two things need to get added to it.
Okay, so that should be in place by the joint meeting. Very good, okay. Any other question for staff?
So do we generally need to have, we were asking for it on the subdivision earlier, but this one's not showing any entrance to the lots. I mean, I don't know if we want to see where the proposed entrance is.
I think, in fact, didn't VDOT address that? They say it's onto a private drive, so they don't need to.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, the
Okay.
right-of-way becomes the private drive that the
Right.
entrances are on. Which is where the road maintenance agreement comes in, yeah. Any other question?
I have a question,
Yes,
Steve.
Mhm.
And this has something to do with road maintenance agreements. Let's say that you have a road maintenance agreement and you build a mother-in-law suite or whatever, and you add a new house, a new driveway. Now, does the man, because he owns that land, have a responsibility for 1/4? Or now that there's another house there, does he have a responsibility for two lots?
So it's really a contract that's created for future landowners.
Okay.
And so it really depends on what the word, how it's written. It could be any number of variations of how that gets calculated. Sometimes it's just frontage, sometimes it could be use and you know, how many dwellings are on it, how many people or cars are using it. I mean, it's creative as you want to be in terms of writing these things.
Okay, any other question? All right, is the applicant here? No, okay.
And to your question, Mr. Elliott, also, sorry, if there are not enough specifics, then it turns into something that they got to figure out.
And that's what you need to look at when you review it, yes.
Yes, to an extent.
Yeah.
It's mostly a legal sufficiency review. It's not, hey, I'm your attorney, I'm going to try to make this
Right,
as
right,
clear
yeah,
as possible.
yeah. Okay, thank you. Any other question on first hand? All right, and we do not have the applicant. Is there any public comment on this case? Okay, let's move on then.
Mr. Chairman, on
Yes, sir.
that particular one, what staff is hearing is we're going to send Mr. Pearl the edits by Mr. Wright. I'm not tracking any other items for him to be working on between now and the first.
As far as we can tell, the only other question we had was where that entrance is going to be. And it
Correct.
appears they have
Okay.
modified that to provide fewer entrances onto 230, which is good.
Thank you, sir, for that clarification.
Okay, next case number S-04-17-01. John Stanley Dawson III et al. Applied for a by right subdivision of a 66.789 acre lot, A1 agriculture zoned lot. The subdivision would create 2 new lots and a residue lot. The 2 new lots would be 22.263 acres each, and the residue lot would be 22.263 acres. The residue lot contains an existing dwelling addressed as 6611 South Blue Ridge Turnpike, Rochelle, Virginia, 22738, and is identified on Madison County's tax maps as 56-7. Okay, that would need to be clarified before we, you know. Yeah, yeah, on the map itself, it shows that, yes. So that's just the, yeah. What's advertised, though, is what we have to clarify, because that's the legal document. Jonathan, anything to add there, excuse me?
I'm sorry, I was just trying to find that so that can be corrected. I can say on this case, VDH has what they call a subdivision review application that has been submitted to VDH, so we don't have letters back yet. We anticipate having that well in advance of May 1st. We did receive VDOT's letter of approval, that you have a handout copy, a hard copy at your seat, as well as the packet was updated. So we know it has met VDOT's approval. Again, a subdivision of land. I really don't have any more to add to that. They'll each have their own entrance, so it's not a shared entrance. So
Right.
they do not need a private road maintenance agreement. So pending VDH letter of approval, and we have the VDOT approval in hand.
Okay, the entrances are marked on the drawing. Doesn't look like there should be any sight distance problems on those. Right. And so you're abandoning the existing entrance to the old, to the farmhouse? All right, does anyone have any question for Jonathan on this?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I just want to ask for clarity. So, reading off your agenda for the case number, I want to go back to, because I have the language in front of me now. There was comment around the residue lot. The advertisement in, as well as the agenda, has the residue lot, which currently has the address of 6611 South Blue Ridge Turnpike. Is that the inaccuracy, or what is the residue lot?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not, honestly, I'm not sure why that makes any difference, because they're all identical size lots.
Okay. Thank you for that. I just want to make sure I capture that.
It should be reconciled one way or the other. Either change the wording in the case description or change the wording on that, which might be the easiest thing to do. All right, this is our first workshop looking at this, correct?
This is correct, but and I'm glad you brought that up. And in all fairness to the applicant, I know we had some transition. I believe the request and possibly staff had indicated this would go on the March. Being that this is what I would refer to as a simple subdivision, there's not a lot of moving parts, there is no private road maintenance agreements, anything of that, I would highly recommend this go through just the one workshop and then to the joint hearing, which has been advertised for May 1st. Again, that's based on, this is just staff, I'm not the body who votes on it, but it's a straightforward land division.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I would
Yes, sir.
iterate to that and say, we look at this again, what can we say?
Right, yeah.
It is what it is.
And it doesn't have any of the problems that we identified on the earlier one, yeah.
No.
The tax maps match and everything is correct. Okay, and with this size property, there shouldn't certainly be any problem with worrying about Department of Health or anything, so. Any other question for Jonathan? All right, does anybody have any question for the applicant? No point in making you stand up and talk if you don't need to, so. Any questions at all? Any public comment on this? No public comment either. Okay, thank you. All right, we also have a couple of items that we want to take a quick look at. Find my page, there we go. For, as we have on our agenda, continued discussion. We have been working on two amendment situations. One defining automotive graveyard more clearly, and the other is the boundary line adjustment. So let's take A first, the automotive graveyard, and Jonathan, if you've got anything to add there.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Turner, if you'll go, we're going to go below the draft here. I'll explain the draft in a minute. If you'll go to the packet insert, there you go, continue to go. They'll say an update at the bottom, there you go, right there. So I went through previous files to see maybe where this left off. And again, this is for the automatic, go up a little bit more. This is for the automated graveyard definition. I found documentation from your January, I believe it was 11th, 2024 workshop. And what that says there is it's recommended that the above article, which is in its current form, be amended to as follows. And if you like, Mr. Chairman, I can read through that. I will state the other document that was in your packet, that was a draft ordinance, I believe that was Rockingham County. Those were the two references I found. What is not clear to me, and I'll need help from the staffing standpoint or your direction for staff, so we can get this possibly to a final form. Was there any consideration for the other localities draft, or maybe that was a staff recommendation? Because what I would say, the Word document you have on the screen now would have been the last recommendations from the Planning Commission on record that I could find. So I'm just trying to establish a baseline. I would use January 11, 2024 as that, unless there's any different feedback that you all may have.
I guess somewhere along the line, we decided to omit the, with the exception of automotive repair shops, sales, and automotive services. Is that what we talked about on the last one? Because I don't remember that. I'm okay with it, personally.
Yeah. In fact,
Because it was in the first one, and then when you have it, the updated one, it doesn't have that in there.
So let me make sure I'm following Mr. Snyder. So at the bottom of the page here, that's it says update and recommendation amended to as follow. That last paragraph, are you saying you're fine with, or?
Well, all I'm trying to do is make note that in the previous one, we have automotive repair shops, automotive sales, and automotive service lots shall not be considered automotive graveyards. That's what we had originally said, and that's been taken out of the next one. I don't remember the discussion on that, but that's okay.
Okay.
Is that what we're deciding to do, is take that part of it out?
I would like for us tonight for clarity, so we have what's existing, which is above where it says update January 11th. That is existing. What's below is what I could find as the last discussion. So I'm just trying to establish the baseline. We know what exists is up top. If it's different wording or edits to what's at the bottom paragraph, we are happy to make that. I think now is the right opportunity. We have new staff to capture the desire of this commission.
So, Mr. Chairman, the one concern I got when you list off the things that Mr. Snyder just said there is we all know that every farmer in this county has a graveyard. And he needs that graveyard because he goes and pulls parts off of tractors and, a wagon or something, or a truck or something. So I think we need to have something in there that doesn't make the farmer get rid of all of his stuff that he may need to go pull a part off of.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Elliott, if I may, I'm actually going to call on on Ms.
Okay.
Clatterbuck. She has some familiarity with this from Page County. Ms. Clatterbuck?
Yeah, so we updated our definition in 2017, and Page County is a farming community, just like Madison, and that question was raised. So at the end of our definition, we added a note that says farm use vehicles as defined in the Code of Virginia shall be exempt from this definition.
Good point.
Now, the only thing that this doesn't say that you mentioned is equipment. And I guess that would be a question.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. I mean, I think you could also make the argument that I think there's a different definition for farm equipment, it wouldn't even fall under this. But if we wanted to make it clear, we could do that. One other thing I'll say is, if we're gonna update the automotive graveyard definition, I think we ought to, it tracks pretty close, but I think my guess is that since this was enacted, they updated, I don't want to get it wrong, it's in 33.2, which defines it. And there's actually just a sentence in there that makes it even, I think, better for us from an enforcement standpoint, which is that, something Mr. Weekly had pointed out, movement of, or rearrangement of vehicles within the same lot does not get you around it being an automotive graveyard. I think that would be a useful addition for us. And then I think the other piece to do would also be just update the inoperable vehicle definition, which is in our 20-102, just to also make it track with what the state code says. It just makes sense, I think, to update those, and then also be, as Ms. Clatterbuck suggested, easy enough to try to make a clear distinction between what we're worried about, just the farm equipment that's being used for parts or whatever.
Well, and probably the other thing that we're gonna get asked frequently is about, well, I was grandfathered in.
Well, now that brings up a different issue, which we could look at if we wanted to, which is the idea of, do we want to force people to cover, screen, wall in? Even if they're grandfathered in, you can still make them.
I mean, I'm just asking the question.
It's a very relevant question.
Yeah, because you know you're gonna hear it.
Oh, 100%. And Hannon, or not, Ligon did with, I'm sure with Hannon's support and everybody else, did a fairly good job getting some of them to put up fences and move their fine automobiles way back so they couldn't be seen from the road or be on the road. You wanna require a fence or not?
Whatever the majority, I'm fine with whatever. I just know we're gonna get asked that question.
Great. We all want that.
I would highly recommend some type of screening,
There you go.
having personally gone through this in the past. Because that's the thing, right? We all talk property rights, and I believe both sides of that. But this is one, I'm not an appraiser, but I think would have negative effect. Someone determining to have this type of activity on their property. And they can play the shell games, they can move vehicles around, or I've seen people take hoods off and put it in front so you can't tell if it's a license plate or an inspection sticker, because technically, we don't have right of entry without being invited onto the property. So sometimes it gets a little hard. Now, you can say you put a fence up, you don't know how many cars they have, but sometimes you want to make sure you're protecting the neighbor against this type of activity.
I got two other things on this, and one's going along with what you just said, but it says 5 or more vehicles of any kind. And that kind of goes along with this. I'm not sure what of any kind is gonna, where that fits
Yeah.
in.
Plus, he's left off motor vehicles. He had that in the original, and he took it out in the revision.
It just says inoperable vehicles of any kind.
And-
And along with that, if you only said, you've got 1, 2, 3 things here, and if you limited it to where it just says, displays a current state inspection sticker, you pretty much made sure that it was an operating vehicle. And you don't really have to worry about the rest of it. If it's got a state inspection sticker, it's gonna be operable regardless of whose lot it's on or anything else.
Mike, the definitions of inoperable vehicle is trailers and motor vehicles. It used to be motor vehicles, inoperable vehicles, and includes trailers. Like the
So that's,
Like the 3 semis in
okay,
front of
well,
my
my
house.
point was of any kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so if we don't say motor vehicles, then that will include trailers, which could be problematic too.
Or not.
Or not, yeah, it may be what we want, that's true,
Right.
yeah.
Right, and then for state code, under at least 15.2904, which is where they let local governments regulate inoperable vehicles, I think now they've got it so it's just for motor vehicles. And they define inoperable motor vehicles.
So we might as well start off reconciling correctly with the state, yes.
I have one
Okay,
question.
good.
Does
Yes.
this also get into general, and I know I missed the early discussions of this, but general junk, and I'm going with riding lawnmowers and other things that some of these smaller repair shops have, I've been here 4 years, and I've seen several for sale on the side of the road that are never gonna sell, they're still sitting there gathering rust.
Mhm.
I mean, there's probably a slippery slope of where the hell.
Where it stops,
where we
yeah.
stop saying what's junk, but.
Right,
Just thought.
no, it's a good question. I think now I would go down the road of like, I think it's 46.2-100, like the automotive definition to figure out, okay, what do they mean by motor vehicle?
Yeah.
And see if a lawnmower qualifies.
Doesn't need a state inspection sticker.
Well, right, no, I'm.
Doesn't need
I'm spinning
registration.
now. I'm spinning now because I'm like, well, can you get a DUI on a?
Yes, you can. We had friendly people that would ride down the road with it.
So speaking from experience, just related to the lawnmowers and the parts, and that would not, at least the way Page County enforced it, in my experience, that would fall under nuisance and would not fall under.
Wouldn't
yeah.
qualify as farm equipment, just because it's any private.
Correct.
I fall under it.
Dude, me, could have it.
Correct, yeah.
All right, very good. Any other comments?
So where are we with this?
I think
Conform
we,
with state law and
yeah, make it conform, add the few things we mentioned.
I apologize on this, the history of this. Like the boundary line adjustment, did we have like a subcommittee that was
No,
doing this
this,
one?
Ligon worked on this, and that's where that, he was using that other county as a kind of a format to look at. He was, well, at some point, I guess he was directed to
Mr.
do this, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if appropriate, and look, I don't want to slow things down. I know this suggestion is going to do that, but one of the things when I put this in the packet was like, all right, we have it, but would it be more responsible is not the right term. Would it be a good idea to allow Ms. Clatterbuck to work on that, and maybe in unison with you, sir, start with you as the chairman, but bring back something for you all, or she can circulate an email with some recommendations. I am sitting here looking at Rockingham County now, and I can see why Ligon would probably put that in there, because there was a lot of changes recently done based on current state code. But maybe it might be appropriate that, and Ms. Clatterbuck's happy to meet with any of you, or call each of you, and really put some final touches on this.
Mr.
This has
Weekly,
not been advertised for May 1st.
Right, right.
Mr. Weekly, I think she's heard enough here tonight and read enough here tonight that she can put something together for us, and we can look at it and tweak it and be good to go.
Yeah, I mean, this is not, it's not anything new, it's just what's already in our ordinance. We need to update it, bring it in conformity with state code, and maybe clear up some weaknesses in it. Of course, the primary weakness is enforcement anyway, so.
All right, so we're tracking Ms. Clatterbuck. We'll work on
Sounds-
that. Obviously,
Yes.
any legal pinch points
Yeah.
with Mr. Wright's review.
Very good. Any other suggestions, questions, comments? Okay. Did you have any other questions, Tracy? Nope. Okay, thank you.
If y'all think of anything else you want to add, just, you know where I'm at.
Okay.
Do we want to leave that part in there about the automobile repair shop sales and service? Do we want to think about leaving that in there?
That's one of the problems we had, I think.
Yeah.
Shelby
Yeah.
Road.
Yeah, where they
Well,
become.
not just Shelby, we got Grape, his neighbor.
Yeah, they easily become a automotive graveyard, yes. Although, recently, a lot of the, where they required special use permits, that's been conditions, the number of vehicles and things like that, but.
And I would just, as we move forward, and again, I'm taking off, the zoning hat is over here now. But
Yeah.
the thing I did notice on some of those conditions we put on those garages, we seem to like settle on 10 vehicles. And I can assure you, not all 10 vehicles that are sitting outside some of these garages are current.
They don't
Right.
count.
So now we're violating our own ordinances, and now, special use permit, you can do whatever, board can do whatever they want on those. But I just want to be clear that it may be something that, that's just my observation, forward, when you're approving these things with fences or however many vehicles at these repair shops, be mindful of this, so we are essentially not creating an automotive junkyard for them.
So you're saying that we should probably omit them or not omit them?
The
Repair shops, example.
I would like us to look at the limits you put in this automotive junkyard, specific to the number of vehicles, that we stay within that. It's not uncommon for them to pull one in or maybe work on it, and somebody's then gonna take it to get inspected. But I've seen a lot, I'm not going to names, but you go by these shops and there's just 20 vehicles. You can do a number count above 5, which is above the state code, that have no county stickers. So we just want to be consistent.
Well, and one of the things you gotta think about there too is when these guys are working on these vehicles, they can't get a part, and the part's 2 weeks out, they roll it outside and keep rolling.
Right.
And, you can get into a part situation that can create a lot of cars.
But what about the ones that aren't even close to
Now,
that?
Then that's different.
Yeah, but that still leaves a kind of a slippery slope situation. I mean, there's legitimate reasons why a shop might have some cars that fit this definition. But then again, there's the possibility for them to abuse it anyway, so.
Yeah, one will still have that inspection sticker.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
other ones probably will not.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we will leave that to our professional and move on then. All right, the other amendment, a little more specific, and I think, although I will say, at, what was it, 4:30 in the morning this morning, Hannah emailed me, noticed that there was, we needed an additional article being reconciled with the proposed amendment, which I believe was 4-1-5, I think is what you said.
Right, out of the zoning ordinance.
Right. There was one more place where it showed up, yeah. Okay, do you want me to just read through this, or you?
Please.
Okay. And there's only a very few changes from the last workshop where we talked about this. And Mike had basically set all this up pretty well, so it was just a question of filling in all the blanks. Proposed definition, this would fit in 20-4A, which would put it in alphabetical order in the definitions. Boundary line adjustment, or BLA, the relocation of a property line or lines between two or more existing and contiguous lots to allow a change in property size or configuration, allowed by Code of Virginia 15.2-2275. A BLA cannot result in the creation of a new lot or a lot which does not conform with the zoning ordinance, unless the original lot was already nonconforming, and in such case of modifying a nonconforming lot, such lot cannot be made smaller in area. Okay, now did I leave anything out, or is that? Okay, so far so good. The following changes would need to be made to reconcile everything with that. In 2-38, under subdivision, which is the definition, again, the division and a whole bunch of words in between, shall not be defined as a subdivision. 1, a boundary line adjustment, BLA, to allow a change in property size or configuration based on Code of Virginia 15.2-2275. I left the period off again. And I believe Hannah suggested this, that it doesn't hurt to repeat these things. So that's word for word what the definition was saying. A BLA cannot result in the creation of a new lot or a nonconforming lot unless the original lot was already nonconforming, and in such case of modifying a nonconforming lot, such lot cannot be made smaller in area. All right, a BLA can vacate or otherwise remove a boundary line or lines between existing lots so long as it results in a lot conforming with this zoning ordinance. A lot resulting from an approved BLA may not be approved for another BLA within 1 year from the latest approval date. And the 1 year was just, we kind of picked that as a placeholder to see what the feeling is on that. Any BLA shall not involve the relocation or alteration of streets, alleys, easements, or for public passage or other public areas, and no easements of utility right-of-way shall be relocated or altered without the express consent, et cetera. And that's from, I think, the state code. All applications must be reviewed by the Planning Commission before consideration for approval by the Board of Supervisors or its designee. An approved BLA must be recorded by recorded subdivision plat or by deed in the land records of the clerk's office of the Circuit Court of Madison County within 60 days. A BLA cannot be recorded unless and until it has been approved in accordance with provisions of this article, reference Code of Virginia 15.2-2255, 15.2-2258, 15.2-2270 through 2275 as amended. Most of the wordiness is matching Virginia code. Any heartburn on that part?
I got one comment. Where it says a lot resulting from an approved BLA, is resulting gonna be the right word there? Because I
Well-
kind of thought of another word maybe.
Okay.
And it would be maybe a lot consisting of an approved BLA, or a lot granted of an approved, consisting or granted and not resulting, because it's not really the result. If that kind of tells you that it was,
Yeah, I was trying to change it. I think originally it said creating. So, in fact, all of them in our ordinance said creating. And and we know.
Well,
it's
we're not creating.
We're not creating, yeah. So, yeah, that's, all right, so possible suggestions would be, instead of resulting,
possibly consisting, a lot consisting from, I'm not sure that I couldn't really come up with the right word.
Okay.
I just, but I didn't think,
After.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I know what you mean, something being a lot after improved
right,
PLA.
Yeah.
all right.
I couldn't find it. I couldn't find the word I wanted.
Yeah, okay. But we do know we don't want to say created, so,
Or,
okay.
or resulting.
Right.
I don't think,
Right.
unless y'all
So-
think resulting is okay.
Well, much as I hate to say it, I think I agree with you. It is almost saying the same as creating, so,
Yeah.
you know. All right, so we need to think about a way to reword that. Okay. Okay, any,
Not the adjusted lot.
the adjusted lot
Adjusting the boundary lines.
and adjusted lot. Okay, let's see.
Lot adjusted by this provision.
A lot,
How about just leaving out, how about just say,
an approved.
and an approved BLA may not be approved by another one? Just forget
Uh-huh,
the word lot resulting from, and it just say, an approved BLA may not be approved for another BLA.
ooh,
Ooh,
okay.
don't like that? Okay.
Yeah,
What you got?
a lot adjusted
By this
by
provision.
this provision may not, is may appropriate there? We don't have to say shall. Shall, okay. Okay.
I've got
Mhm.
a question on the last sentence. I doubt if that's in the code. A BLA cannot be recorded unless and until it has been approved in accordance with provisions of this article. That's what we're saying, and I think that pretty much concluded was that whether or not we have legal authority to do that, let them sue us, well, let's find out.
Right, well,
That would give the clerk cover to point to this, and if somebody pushed the issue, then let them push it.
I read the Attorney General opinion right on this last night. I can't remember what it said, but I thought we were in pretty good stead
Okay.
with the way it's written.
Yeah, in fact, I'm pretty sure these came directly from you, the references, because I don't think I looked those up.
just two typos, but I can save those to the end.
Okay, okay. If there's no more than two, we're in good shape. Any other on that paragraph? Okay, the rest of these are pretty much boilerplate. Article 3-11, where it mentions the BLA, we would need to reconcile it with the new definition, which would include the 1 year instead of 10 years. It would, and again, we've got the word resulting from, so we may need to, following Mike's question, we may need to reword that.
Altered by?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, altered, okay. Altered by. And I think we could probably use that instead of adjusted by this, yes.
I'll probably
Yep.
use altered
Good. And that leaves no possibility of misinterpreting as being, creating a lot, yeah.
Forming language.
Yeah. Altered by a boundary line adjustment. And in our existing one, it doesn't have the line in there, so I added that to make it conforming. Shall not be approved for another boundary line adjustment for 1 year from the date of deed, et cetera, et cetera. All boilerplate stuff. Same thing on 4-11, that's in A1. Same wording. Altered. By, shall not be approved, and so forth. And actually, the one that you caught was 4-1-5, I'm pretty sure, and it's the same thing. We would just need to change the wording to match these other two. All right, any?
I've got one question.
Yes, sir.
When we started looking at this, I looked at 7 different jurisdictions around us. And BLAs generally refer, I think exclusively refer to something either ag or conservation. What do you do in a residential area?
Okay, it's not, residential lot can be subdivided. So we should have
But
to
you
deal
can't
with
do a
that.
BLA? Because it's not provided for.
It's not provided for in ours, yeah.
Steve, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Maybe Mr. Jackson or Mr. Dawson could interject to this. You know, the one thing that I'm concerned about maybe a little bit is the 1 year.
Uh-huh.
We did the 10 years, to kind of help moderate growth.
Mhm.
And maybe they could give us some insight of what they think of that number, just so we know where we need to head.
Yeah, since the 1 year is definitely a placeholder, yeah. Any guidance from above?
Oh, yeah, that's good. I mean, you're right, you're 100% right, that the 10 years was put in there intentionally for that.
It's a
And I
Bob
could-
Miller thing.
What?
It's a Bob Miller thing.
Yeah, it might have been, he was great. I don't know.
Well, the 10-year was put in there for creating lots
Yeah.
and dividing.
And it-
I don't know, at this point, we're not seeing a whole lot of boundary lines used as a tool to manipulate. The 1 year I could see as being, what it is.
Okay.
I don't have any heartache for that. I don't
Yeah.
think we're seeing it on a regular basis, and the boundary line adjustments we are seeing, in a lot of cases, are making lots better.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the committee's kind of consensus was that 10 years was a rather severe limitation on the boundary line adjustment.
I don't know, I'm gonna have to think about that one now. That's not, I'm not done with that one, I do need to think about that.
I don't know how we watch it or even keep an eye on it to know if it's happening a lot or, I mean, I know we can do it with courthouse. But,
Yeah, at least the way this is now written,
When,
it's requiring to be recorded and specifies how it's done, which was what was escaping us.
when
our
are you,
approval.
Yeah.
when are you planning on having this come back to us?
Well, it looks like we need another workshop
Very
at
good.
least.
What about if we add this to our agenda on
For
this
the board?
upcoming, this
Okay.
Tuesday? And we can ask the whole board and see what they have to say about the 1 versus the 10, and see if there is a moderate number in there
Oh, okay.
that we would point in your direction.
Now-
We'll relay that back to staff and get them to send out an email on what the board says.
Mr. Jackson, I see the 1 years for the BLA, the 10 years just on the land division itself. So is the
No.
objective to see if the
No.
BLA matches the 4
No,
and 10?
The 4 and 10, I think nobody has any interest in doing.
Right.
Right.
I have zero interest
Right.
in any way playing with the 4 and 10. Zero interest. The BLA is the only thing at question here.
If 1 year, if it needs to be less or more, or are they comfortable with 1 year?
Very much.
Tracking. Thank you, sir.
Which leaves the question about, do we want to include somehow R1 or residential?
Yeah, and I just wondered why it wasn't.
Yeah, it just wasn't in there.
No.
And.
Or anywhere else.
The potential is there, it could be used.
lots, the intent is to focus growth in those areas. A1 has always been the preservation of the thing that everybody in Madison County holds dear.
So the question is it, in the event that you've got two adjacent R1 lots where some kind of a boundary adjustment would continue to be conforming and might improve one or the other lot, would that be worth writing it in?
You know, the definition doesn't say in A1 or C1. It doesn't specify any of it. So as it stands right now, you could
that's where
probably
the-
use it for all of it.
Now, the zoning ordinances are just A and C.
Yeah.
And on the 1 year, 10-year thing, there is an option to do 1 year if it results in a conforming lot, and 10 years if it doesn't. Like we had the application before Thursday.
I think one of the things that the committee was really pushing was just not allowing non-conforming lots unless there's no other way around it.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there was a division that involved the BLA off of Leon Road. It really brought this to the commission's attention because it was moving the line on the lot, but it wasn't improving the lot. It was still making a non-conforming lot.
When it picked a lot up and moved it without.
Yes,
sir.
that's the one, yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's why Mike very carefully put contiguous in there.
So I've got another question on
Yes,
this. Okay, so if you've got a boundary line and you've got an easement that goes down this boundary line, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. Now, if you move a boundary line one way or the other, and does that easement follow that boundary line? Or does that easement stay in the recorded area?
Has to be a recorded area.
Yeah, stays where it
Easements
is.
don't move.
Okay.
And is that right?
That sounds,
That's a deed of easement
Yeah,
that gets
yeah.
filed at the courthouse. And you could vacate an easement and
And move it.
and do a deed of easement somewhere else. I've seen that. But just doing the BLA itself would not move that deed of easement.
okay, so that should not be a factor here, then, okay. Okay, well, any other changes? I'll get these written up again and circulate it by email, I guess, and we'll get some input about whether the 1 year is appropriate. Do we want to do another workshop to finalize everything before we do bring it before the joint meeting?
I think we're pretty close to you folks out of the year.
Okay,
Changed a little language, and I think we're pretty close.
all right, so aim for, well, obviously, May's not doable, because we'll be getting some input from May, but aim for June.
I think our new zoning administrator could probably, with what she sees, when she gets the information from the board, I think she could probably bring us back something that's pretty close.
Okay.
Chairman, may I approach?
Yes, sir.
Therein, needs a knee.
Ah, okay. Okay.
And then clerks just needs an apostrophe.
Ah, okay, yeah. Did I leave that on all of them? No, I got it on the others,
I
okay.
think that's the only place she is.
Yep.
Good job.
Okay, so we will get, yeah, we will get some input, we'll finalize, and you think aim for June for the joint meeting then?
We can do June for both.
We'll get our input about the 1 year from the May meeting.
Right. So on that, and that will be an amendment, so obviously public, I think it requires 2 advertisements. So,
Oh, okay.
We'll aim for the June joint meeting.
Yeah. And Tracy, there's a boilerplate format that it's put in, well, you probably already know all this, to present to the board so they can sign it off and stuff. Okay, any other corrections, comments, et cetera?
Mr. Chairman, I do have one, and apologies on this, we have made the correction, but the joint workshop, the joint hearing that was advertised in the Eagle that'll come out this week will have the location of the firehouse. We have made that correction. What we decided was to go ahead and advertise in the Daily Progress, so we meet those advertisements of, I think it's 14 days before and no less than 6 days before the public hearing or expected action. So we have corrected that as far as meeting the advertisement through the Daily Progress. We have put that on the board. We will put it on our website. We're also going to put a note down at the fire hall, just in case somebody reads this Thursday and they pay no attention to next week's, the following edition, which is corrected. So we have made correction of that. That was oversight, but we have taken care of the advertising requirements where will cause no concern for any action that could be taken on the May 1st meeting.
Excellent, okay. All right, anything else?
Move to adjourn.
You want to get public comment?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, we can do that, I apologize.
All right.
I'm a little ignorant as far as some of your terminology is concerned. Is a boundary line adjustment different than creating a lot?
Yes, in fact, specifically, it is not creating a lot.
It is not creating a
Right.
lot. So creating a lot will remain with the 2 years.
That's a subdivision, it would be still 10 years, yes.
Okay, but a boundary line adjustment, you're saying is different.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just a moving of a, I guess,
One or more property lines, yes.
okay.
Probably the easiest way to say it, Becky, I got 30 acres here and I got 2 acres here and I want to take an acre from this and move it over here and make this a conforming lot.
Okay. And make it 3 acres.
Right, so it's a,
And so it would, okay, so that, in Madison County, a conforming lot is 3 acres.
in A1, yes.
In A1.
Yeah.
C1.
Okay. I'm sorry, I just, ignorant as to your language.
That's why,
I need that clarification, I'm sorry.
public comment is what we're here for, yes. Any other public comment? Okay. Somebody want to move for? So moved. Any seconds? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan, for the water.
Sorry we didn't have it bottled.